What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into another MVP Sports video. My name is Jake Neverman. I'm here with my co-host now. I mean, we're always together, Dave Oster.
Good to be here, man. I'm excited. It is like draft day was coming, but then all of a sudden we just got absolutely punched in the face today with draft news.
I mean, we had the Woj and Low podcast last night that just blew up everything. We'll be doing another video on that most likely. And then today, what we're going to be talking about in this short little video is the trade that went down. We finally entered trade season. Finally, not finally, but the Monday before the draft, all the news is starting to leak out. The trade starts. So let's get right into it. The Memphis Grizzlies have finalized a trade to send Jonas Valanciunas and the 17th overall pick, along with the 51st pick, to the New Orleans Pelicans for Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, the 10th overall pick, the 40th pick, and then a top 10 protected first round pick next year that is the LA Lakers. So overall, just your thoughts on the trade in general. Should we start on one side and move to the other?
Yeah. Let's pick a side and go from there.
Let's start with the Grizzlies because it seems like they were. If you look at the material return, they seem like almost winners. So what do you think of their return so far?
I mean, from the initial happenings, without any of the post speculation about who is potentially staying or going on this team, I would say that it's awesome. I think they did a great job of taking a look at their timeline, seeing the results of playoffs last year, and going ahead and taking advantage of a team in the Pelicans who clearly are in a budget crush right now because of their poor moves last offseason, which we highlighted.
Yep.
I told them it was a terrible idea. They did it anyway. You should listen to us. We're the real GMs. I think that it was just an incredibly smart move to A, move up in the draft, and B, soak some contracts because you aren't a destination yet. You know, Memphis has only had 3 years of rebuild, basically. Jaren Jackson, John Morant, being this new young core, and you absolutely love the fuck out of them, but like they're not at that level yet where they can pull in a superstar to Memphis. It's just not that destination yet. I think it could be in the next 4 years, and I'm excited for that, but they're realistic on their timeline, and they didn't want to pay JV, and we saw what happened in the playoffs with him getting played off the floor.
Yep.
I mean, look, he had a great regular season. You pumped and dumped his stats because Jaren Jackson Jr. was out with injury for the majority of the year. So, like, basically, it was a pump and dump on JV. He's not a bad player by any means, but it was just incredibly smart by them to not get stuck giving him the bag and capitalize on, hey, we can take on a Bledsoe, we can take on Steven Adams, and you just pay us for that, and then we'll see what we do.
Yeah, I think the news is that you did lean towards that Eric Bledsoe most likely is not staying in New Orleans. That is what's been reported by Chris Haynes.
Memphis.
Memphis. Yeah, sorry, not staying in Memphis. I'm so used to not staying in Memphis.
He's also not staying in New Orleans anymore.
He's not going to stay in either of them. He's going to go somewhere else. I don't know where. The Chicago Bulls.
You shove that right.
But no, I think one of the things we talk about this Memphis front office is how smart they are. We talk about we talk about our visions with teams so often is that we need to look 3 or 4 years down the road, not the immediate future. This free agency class is poor. We've not poor in terms of top end talent. We've known that. The team isn't there, like you said, to draw top talent yet. But the thing that this does do is it gets them more assets. That if a Bradley Beal does become available, who would be perfect on this Memphis team, they have the assets to try to go get him. Now, would they get him? It's a whole different issue. Probably not because he's on an expiring deal. Probably wouldn't sign a long-term deal in Memphis. Whole different talk. But on this trade alone, you move up to number 10 on the lottery. You get additional first-round pick next year. You move up,
which is your third first-round pick next year. By the way, they have their own. They have Utah's, and now they have the Lakers.
You move up 11 spots in the second round, which I think is significant this year with how much deep talent there is this year. And then you get a guy like Steven Adams who can help and mentor these young guys, like an Xavier Tillman, like a Brandon Clark if he can get his shit together. And then,
I do have a point on that I will get to.
Yeah, I think that this frees up playing time for the young guys, which is what they know they had to do because Xavier Tillman played very well last year and got limited minutes in the playoffs because there just wasn't time for him in the rotations they were running. Jaren Jackson Jr. could play a little bit more between the flex and the 4 and 5 this year, which is very important for their growth, I think. They might not be done. I don't know if Kyle Anderson stays or if they move him to kind of, again, not a guy that really lines up with their timeline. It's a great move. They moved to the top 10. The main name that has been thrown out there is Josh Giddey. That is the main name that everybody has reported.
That is one name out of the other two that KOC
was not reporting them, though. He just said they could be potential targets. The only people that had actual sources said that the league sources are saying that they like Josh Giddey at 10 if he's there, because apparently he might go for the 10th pick, which that just speaks to my agenda very highly. The best passer in the draft going
down. Are you stoking the fires out there? Are you leaking reports?
Just maybe. But yeah, I think the main target. I guess we can move to this. So we know Steven Adams will most likely stay because his contract is an Alcatraz, and we knew that from the start when they signed the extension. Yeah, thank you.
You said Alcatraz.
Blaine Mush, we know this.
Yep, you're good.
Bledsoe most likely going to move on. I assume they probably get an expiring contract and maybe a pick along with him, like a early second, late first, whatever it is. Some team will take his contract. I'm interested. What do you think Steven Adams' role looks like on the team next year? Because I don't know. I don't know with their young guys and him how they're going to mix.
Yeah. So starting with Steven Adams, I think it's actually not as bad of a fit as people think. Like, they look at Steven Adams from last year and they're like, man, he down year, played terribly, all this stuff. Like, well, you put him next to a kid who can't shoot the ball.
Yeah.
So you put 3 guys in the paint basically at times. No wonder you're going to have problems. His rebounding numbers were down. I wonder, is there a correlation from the 6'6" kid who can jump 7 feet in the air, who lives under the rim, might be taking rebound? Like, I get it. He was not an ideal fit there, and it made sense to move on. I think that Steven Adams is still a solid rim runner. I think that he can still bring toughness. I think that, hey, he can dunk. He can play really well off the screens at the top of the key. Like, I think Steven Adams and John Morant are a fantastic pairing, actually. Yeah. And I think that it will actually be a massive benefit to this team long term, because they will have someone who is a great mentor for Jaren Jackson Jr. for a year. I assume at least one.
Yeah.
The big thing is, though, like, having him there gives them that, like, 4-way flexibility of, hey, we have Steven Adams, we have Jaren Jackson Jr., you have Xavier Tillman, and then you now have Brandon Clark there as well. And problem you mentioned with Clark, his numbers last year were not great. That was because he was forced to play on the floor with JV, whereas his first year in the NBA, he was heavily used with Jaren Jackson Jr. on the floor. Yeah. So instead of having a spacing, 5 on the floor, he was ending up playing with a big man in the paint, and that changed his role. And obviously his shot is still garbage. I will not make any excuses for that. But, like, I expect Brandon Clark to come back and play better because of this spacing fix. Like, it is just a fix for them because they'll have healthy bodies again. So I'm not concerned with minutes. I do think he'll probably play about the same minutes as he did last year, which was a decrease for him. But I think that timeline he fits in, contract-wise, it's not terrible for them. He's a great mentor, great toughness. And it all around is an excellent fit for them. You mentioned moving on from Eric Bledsoe, and I think that if they do decide to, that's fine, because people were talking about a terrible contract, and then they go, wait, next year you can write him off for $4 million. He has a $4 million, move on. So it's basically an expiring contract at this point, which I think people maybe didn't see as whatever, but yeah, I think all around, like, this just fits their lineup well. Kyle Anderson potentially being on the move. I think he's been a great vet on the team. Yeah. Really, it just comes down to the Justice Winslow situation. It's just so much money to keep him. A player who has an incredible upside, but at the same time has shown that he cannot stay healthy. Yep. And last year, coming off of a lot of downtime, he did not look great. Mm-hmm. So I think the Kyle Anderson, Justice Winslow thing's in the air. I'm going to be interested to see that, but also now we have these reports about not only the Giddey interest, but also maybe we're not done moving up. We're going to keep moving up.
So if they do move up, the names were Kuminga and Bouknight that were rumored. I think Bouknight makes a ton of sense. They need wing scoring, and he could play next to John Morant. Improve a little bit defensively, and you have an elite defensive backcourt there. I mean, Bouknight has to improve. That's the big thing with him. We know that he's a bucket getter. Beyond that, his game needs to grow in basically every single way. That's the big thing. But next to John Morant, really all he would have to do is score. That's not
knock down shots, yeah.
Because John Morant is a facilitator. He's one of the best passers in the NBA. I mean, it's just an upgrade to Dillon Brooks, obviously offensively. And I know Dillon Brooks went off in the playoffs, but I don't buy again. Again, it's the playoffs. I don't know. He has to do it for an entire season for me to buy into it. But
sure,
yeah, I'm not. I guess what I think is so great about the Memphis front office is that the plan, we see a lot of these teams playing so short term and people want instant gratification. This is stretching your team out 3 to 4 years, keeping that cap relief for next offseason, because they can offload Steven Adams next offseason if they have to. Eric Bledsoe, like you said, is basically an expiring, and there's a huge trading class coming next season. So again, gearing yourself up.
And dude, think about the murderers row in the Western Conference.
Oh yeah,
the Warriors are coming back this year, so there goes another playoff spot, which we saw that matchup, which was awesome, by the way, in the play-in. I will hear no sass out of anyone who thinks the play-ins are dumb. Go fuck yourself. Play-ins are great. They make for amazing moments. And I just think that the West is reloaded and going to be incredibly tough, and they are aware of that.
Yeah.
And again, it's just that like the front office knows the timeline of the team. Don't waste your time, waste your money. Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant are the future of this team. And both of them love the city. Both of them love playing with each other. Like, you have two super young, super gifted talents on this team. Don't rush it. You're not in a situation like the Pelicans are where they have to appease Zion, or he'll go to New York, or he'll go to somewhere else and he'll just don't give a fuck. It's so insane to think about.
I'll say, now let's transition to the other part of this trade, which is the New Orleans Pelicans. Like, once again, they are getting Jonas Valanciunas, the 17th overall pick, and the 51st pick back. And I was going to say, when we talk about with Memphis and patience, now we flip it to New Orleans where it's panic, because now we heard Brand Ingram would welcome a trade to Miami, which was just, again, I just have to say shortly.
Pretty cool. I'm interested.
I have to say shortly is I don't think the Pelicans give a damn where he'd accept a trade, because they're going to trade him wherever they can get the most value if they do look to move him, because he's not, like I said, there's two people who get to say in where they go. Obviously, if you have no trade clause, and then if you've made an impact on the franchise, like a Dame. And even then, we've seen it like Blake Griffin, where they're just like, no, you're going to go this way to Detroit. So, great front office there in LA. They really treat their legends well. The Pelican side of this trade, Jonas Valanciunas and Zion Williamson, does it work?
I mean, in theory, it's a better floor spacer. JV can step outside. He can stretch the floor. His mid-range game is pretty good, actually. I think that, yes, it gives them a better dynamic than Steven Adams. And that's all they really need to do is just clear the paint. You know, when you have someone as dynamic as Zion, you can't have a full-time 7-footer standing in the restricted zone every couple seconds. So, like, it was just a necessary move. I think that JV was kind of a bonus. Like, it wasn't just JV. Yeah. This was about the money. This was about freeing up, $25 million a year to get themselves in a position where they can make an offer to someone like a Kyle Lowry, to put themselves in that position to compete, because they were not even, Adams plus Bledsoe's contracts were hilariously bad for that roster because of the timeline. Now, they've got a ton of money freed up. They can make big deals. They can make something happen if they really want to. My whole thought is just like, hey, let's think about how we construct the roster around Zion. Let's not just throw names on paper because you think it'll give you a slightly better competitive, year this year. That's my concern, is they're going to overpay on someone to try to be like, look, we're trying real hard.
Well, let's stop beating around the bush. We know who the person is, Kyle Lowry. They want Kyle Lowry bad. Kyle Lowry apparently is going to get around $30 million a year for a 3-year contract.
That was a very interesting number to throw out there.
So rumor is 3-year contract, $30 million a year. The Pelicans, I am assuming they have to be the team that is willing to pay him that much money, because to get anybody to go to New Orleans, no offense to New Orleans, I'm a Saints fan, great city. In basketball, you're going to have to pay somebody a lot of money to go there when he's going to get chased by both LA teams. He's going to get chased by Philly, probably going to get thrown out by Boston somehow, some way.
He absolutely has already, yes.
Yeah, well, I'm saying
Miami.
And then you're there with New Orleans. So I assume New Orleans is going to have to throw as much money as they can at him. This also leaves open to the possibility that they can match Alonzo Ball offer if they want to. Yep. That is still way up in the air. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with him until they throw the offer up. I mean, Sham said, in a perfect world, Lonzo and the Bulls end up together. Again,
I heard a 3-team trade that I'm already interested in, signing trades.
Not yet.
Lonzo to the Bulls. I believe it was Lowry and another piece going to the Raptors. And I'm sorry, Lowry Markkanen.
Yeah, I got that.
Going to the Raptors, and then Kyle Lowry coming down to the Pelicans. Trying to make every fan base happy.
I was going to say, I don't think Larry Markkanen wants to go to Toronto.
Nobody cares what Larry Markkanen wants to do.
Okay, it's going to be whoever offers them the most money. We already know that. Yeah. So this leaves the Pelicans in a pretty precarious position. There's not really much to say right now because we genuinely don't know what their roster is at all going to look like. We now know Zion and JV are most likely going to be on the roster. We don't know anybody else is going to be on the roster. I assume Kira Lewis Jr. is because they were wildly high on him from the reports. I get what they're trying to do. I don't think it'll work out in the end is my point. I think it's too risky. I get trying to appease Zion. This is a great deal for them. I think this is then we get into the kind of the wrap-up talk for this trade. Sure. I think this is, if we're here grading it, I think it's a win-win trade for both teams. It accomplishes what you want. The Grizzlies, again, we had some people in our Discord. I didn't plug anything before, but Discord down below. Yep. There were some people saying that they don't like them taking on Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe's contracts. Like I said, 3 to 4 year window. You're not going to compete and win a championship this year. Why not eat the salary cap, get a better player in this draft, moving up to top 10? It's just a win-win deal for both teams. And the Pelicans, they get their chance to shoot their shot at free agents with a bunch of money. So I generally don't see a downside for either of these teams.
No, I agree with you. It's in general a win-win deal. It's just unfortunate that the Pelicans put themselves in a situation where they had to give up draft capital to fix the problems of last offseason, where they hired the wrong coach. They made all the wrong moves outside of the Drew trade, which even that people are going, I mean, he did win them a championship.
Well, yeah, I think that's hindsight.
And we're getting like pick 29 for the next couple years.
I think that's
What's
hindsight.
the value there?
I think that's hindsight. I think the Drew Holiday deal was good. That was pretty good value to get for a guy like that, because going into the playoffs this year, everybody was making fun of Drew and mocking him. So
because they were gambling on Giannis potentially leaving.
Yeah.
And now they just want to ship. He's not leaving. They've got that core together. Like, you're now getting pick 29. How does that feel?
For years. Because Giannis is probably going to win another ring in Milwaukee.
That ain't great.
Yeah.
That ain't great. That's my thought. So now they're trying to flip. They're trying to flip, shitty picks again to get someone like Drew Holiday.
And Josh Giddey. No, no one really like it at all. But maybe a Moses Moody I still would feel would be perfect for them. I don't know if he's there at 10. That's the problem.
Yeah. I feel like Moody is the one that everybody's like secretly hoping, like, just take the smart pick and take Moody.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we have people like you who are like, Giddey, do it.
I feel like I think I did this in my mock too. Is that Moody 7 to the Warriors is starting to like pique my interest, and I feel like that there's under the tone reports that Moody's not going to be there at 10, that he is rising on boards. 7 makes a lot of sense for him if Kuminga is going to fall and Book Night goes 6.
Apparently his workouts have not been impressive. We'll get to that in a minute, but yep.
We are going to actually, so to wrap it up, we are going to be live after this video is recorded, so it'll already be done by the time you're watching this on YouTube. We're going to be doing a mailbag live. Again, we'll be live for the NBA draft on Thursday night. Join us. We'll be there the entire time through 2 rounds. Down below, channel membership, Patreon, get videos a week earlier than YouTube. Thank you, Patreon sponsor Pat Hill. I didn't do that digging into the videos.
Thank you, Pat.
Did I miss anything? In our Discord down below, greatest community in the world. It is popping this time of the year. This next 2 weeks is going to be the draft, free agency, and then the summer league starts like a week after that.
Woo!
It's going to be a hell of a couple of weeks. Stay tuned with all the coverage on MVP Sports, and I hope everybody has a good day.